Hey guys, Becca.
Rachel,
We are going to be talking about purity culture today.
aren't you so excited? Because I know we are.
So, there's a whole aspect of purity culture that's talking about abstinence and stuff like that. That's talked about so much. And I think that the more important part to talk about is like all the other side of it. The side that stays with you forever and is subtle and is like little digs that just kind of get into you and like stay in your brain.
At TFCs.
Yeah, specifically. Like, I'm talking about that, specifically.
It's just because it's such a broad thing and such a big thing, it's hard to hone it into TFC, so we're going to try our best.
Well, and it happens, like, I don't want anyone to think that, like, these things that happen in TFCs, yes, they happen all over the church. We're just not talking about the church right now. Like,
yes.
That's
just talking about TFCs.
That's its own separate issue, and that's a whole big thing that we don't really want to get into.
We'll get there later.
This is about TFCs, and this is about our experience with this specific group.
So, to jump into it with any sort of actual direction, because, again, we just turn a camera on, I would like to start with the day during camp where they cover up the mirrors.
Yes, go for it.
I'm not a fan, sum up.
So, just so you know, if you didn't experience this, I saw it from a TFC perspective and then a Sunshiner perspective. So in TFCs, there is a day during the week where all the Sunshiners and like the staff of the female bathrooms, it's all like directed toward the females. They cover up the mirrors with like brown paper, and then the Sunshiners write like, "You're beautiful." They'll write Bible quotes about like your inner beauty. They'll make it so that it's all about like, you don't need to be validated by seeing yourself to be beautiful.
And also, you don't need the makeup and the face care and the whatever.
And then Sunshiners are really supposed to like over encourage your like youth that you are the leader of. So every Sunshiner has like a small group that they're a leader, and then they have an adult leader. Mm-hmm. And so they're supposed to really encourage their kids to like, you know, pay attention and like really like challenge themselves today. It's supposed to be voluntary.
Also, the men of the group are sat down and encouraged to like give us more compliments.
They're told this is happening, and they're told to heavily compliment us that day.
Really reinforce that we don't need extra things to be beautiful.
And if you were a girl in TFCs and didn't know that the men were sat down, sorry. They were.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Because, like, the girls aren't informed that the guys are going to be heavily complimenting you. I knew it as a Sunshiner.
I'm sorry. I'm just having this whole moment right now because within purity culture, you're supposed to be being pure, right? Yeah. And so if you are stripped of your makeup and then a whole bunch of let's say, attractive teenage boys then tell you how special and perfect and cute and beautiful and awesome and inspirational and just over the moon great for you.
On the day when you don't wear makeup versus all the other days when you may or may not have.
I don't know if you've met a teenager before in your life, but how are you supposed to have your thoughts remain pure? How are you?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Right? Say you're a beautiful woman. You are. Say that I am a Gaga ball champ, and I go and tell you, wow, did you do something different with your... It looks really good today. Like,
well, and also...
wow.
like,
and then you're supposed to have pure thoughts about me?
Okay, well, let's pretend that not everyone is like us, and
we're teenagers.
This is true.
That's scientific. That we all having thoughts. I'm sorry, I'm not shy.
I love you so much.
Even now, if someone's like, "You're beautiful," I'm like, say less. Like, okay.
This is very true. But I mean, you mentioned this when we were talking a little bit about this before. You were talking about how like, everything is kind of like over sexualized in this group.
Yeah.
Like every conversation somehow comes back to like sex and purity culture and like we need to be pure. Like, you need to watch your thoughts, you need to watch what you dress, you need to watch how you do things, because like you're gonna cause people to stray if you don't pay attention to the way that you interact with people. That example that you gave when we were talking earlier about the guy wiping his face.
Yeah. So and this will tie into that specific day of the week. We like tangents here, but yeah, we were talking about the fact that, like, if say a guy is playing a sport, gaga ball, that's the biggest one that I can remember, and he gets hot and sweaty, and so he takes the bottom of his shirt, which this happened a lot.
Yeah, guys do this a lot.
And wiped his brow, and he may or may not have exposed his abs, and then we all see it, and we're just like, oh, abs. Not only are we wrong for noticing, but he's now wrong for just wiping sweat. He's now like, I can't believe you just did that in front of a girl.
Yeah.
Don't you know that now she's gonna have to have a whole debacle with Jesus about how to not think about you that way. I can't believe you would tempt her. I can't believe you would do that. And it's the girl, how dare you look at him and sexualize him. I know you're a teenager, but still, I know you have raging hormones, but still, I know, I look too, but still, you're all bad.
But the other side of that is that we talked about this in Sunshine one time, my senior year, that like girls are taught like they aren't visual people. Like, guys are taught that they're visual people, and so the easiest way for them to stray is to look at something that makes them have impure thoughts. Girls are told that we are auditory people, and the way that you talk to us is
Girls
how
fall
we
in love with what they hear,
and guys fall in love with what they see. And this is like heavily done in purity culture. 100%. Like, one time when I was in Sunshine, we talked about this, and all of us said, like, no, I'm a visual person. Like, words are good, and words tell me like the kind of person you are, but like, you're gorgeous. Like, I'm not going to be lustful for your words. I'm going to be lustful for you not in a shirt.
Well, I think even it doesn't have to be lustful. Most people have eyes.
No. I'm saying, like, that's the impure thought. The impure thought is coming not from the way that a guy's talking to me. It's coming from the way that he looks.
Yep.
And, but yeah, so let's go back to the mirrors.
So,
I remember my freshman year, this happened, and for my entirety of high school after that, I, like, refused to wear makeup unless it was for, like, a performance or something like that, because I had associated wearing makeup with being less godly.
Yes.
But you had a negative experience.
I had many, but here's one. So I remember I woke up and the mirrors were covered, and I rebelled a lot in TFCs.
Remember, this was supposed to be voluntary.
Yes. I woke up and the mirrors were covered, and I was like, LOL, no. And so I remember that I was like, I debated with myself. I was like, how much makeup do I have to do in order to feel like I am pretty today? And like, that's what I'll do. I don't have to do full face. I can just minimize it, you know, get some color on the eyeballs, or like do something. And I remember I took my eyeliner and my mascara and I put it in my pocket, and we went to breakfast. And because I didn't want to do it in front of anybody.
Yeah. I
also was dumb, and I was like, if I just do minimalistic, no one will know I'm wearing makeup. And I remember I went into the bathroom when everyone got their food, so no one's gonna be in the bathroom because everyone's gonna be eating, and I peeled back a corner and I got real personal with it, and I started doing, you know, like beautifying myself. And a sunshiner walked in, and she didn't say anything, and she just looked at me with the most like, I cannot believe you right now. You are what is wrong with the world. And I felt so much shame that any amount of like rebellion or any amount of like, no, I don't have to do this, was gone. And I became so small in my brain, and I was just like, I can't, you're right, I can't believe that I did do this, and I was rejecting my true beauty, and by rejecting this true beauty, I was rejecting the fact that I was made in God's image, and I was therefore rejecting God. And talk about, wow, Because then my brain did this really fun thing of like, wearing mascara means that you are rejecting your religion. So you're rejecting God. You're rejecting these people that are just trying to make you feel beautiful. Like, why do you have to do that? Why do you have to cause an uproar? Why can't you just honor the agenda? Like, why do you have to do this shit? Clearly, I'm over it.
Well, I mean, while you were talking about that, I started thinking about the fact that, like, even as an adult, I don't really wear makeup very often. Mm-hmm. Like, you know that. And I've always kind of, like, played it off as, like, I love sleep. And so I hate giving up sleeping time to, like, get up and, like, put a shit ton of effort into, like, makeup and hair. Like, so glad I have curly hair because I can just throw some mousse in that and walk out the door. I love minimalism in the sense that it keeps me from having to be, like, super spend a crap ton of time doing stuff. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that, like, there's a couple of times in my relationship where I have worn makeup for us to, like, go do something. Like, we're going to the zoo that day and I put on some makeup. And my boyfriend will be like, wow, that looks really good. Like, your makeup looks really beautiful today. And I internally am like, I'm not beautiful if I'm not wearing this. And that doesn't come from anywhere but TFC's. 100%. Because I don't think that. I wear makeup because I think it's fun. It, like, accentuates things. It, like, sometimes I'm like, ooh, mama needs to fix that. Like, my skin is not doing what I want it to do. And instead of distracting people with, like, a big red blotch that my skin decided I was supposed to have today, I'm just gonna...
Right. And do you ever, and can be honest about this.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like when you do your makeup, God is in some ways just, like, looking at you and being like, how dare you ruin the canvas that I gave you? Because I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes
or, like, with every stroke, I'm lowering my worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Which means that what's yours? If you can't even wear mascara without completely going against the systematic religion, policy, purity culture that, you know, you shouldn't, and you're rebelling by putting on mascara. Like, how deep-rooted does the trauma have to be? Well, something as small as makeup means that you're devaluing yourself.
Well, and it's enforced on that day by the guys. Like, gosh, you guys look so beautiful with your natural faces. Like, 10 times better. I can't believe how gorgeous the girls are when they're just fresh-faced. It just enforces that idea that, like...
Do you know what else it enforces? My bad. I'm really sorry, but I just thought of this. It enforces, without mentioning, that people think that we wear makeup
for them. That's what I'm saying. That's the point I was getting to. Is that...
Good job.
Yeah, now, as an adult, when guys say that to me, it disgusts me, first of all, because, I'm not wearing it for you. Like... I love my boyfriend. I'm not wearing makeup for you, baby.
Just PSA, in case you didn't know this, women, we don't wear stilettos for men.
Nope.
We don't get the new bag for men. We don't do our eyebrows for men. If anything, we do it to make ourselves feel better around other women.
Yeah, we are doing it because they're the ones who are going to notice.
Yeah.
Like, I dress up when I'm around Rachel. I don't dress up around my boyfriend. No. I dress up around Rachel.
Yes, because I'll be like, cute top.
Yeah, exactly.
That looks fucking awesome today.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to diss on.
Or there's times where, like, you go through something and you need a makeover. You need to feel different. It's a new chapter of your life, so you experiment with a new lipstick. It's not rejection of God. I just wanted to have mixed berry on my lips today because I'm feeling a little spicy.
I just bought a mixed berry lipstick.
So did I. I was feeling spicy. But that's it. That's what it is. And I know there are so many women and people that have been in TFCs that are like, yeah, I literally just, it might be to make myself feel better. What's wrong with that?
Right.
Seriously, what is wrong with doing a little to make myself feel attractive? Why is that bad?
And it's not even like the whole thing is just, you can go in circles about it because it's just so frustrating. But let's go away from the makeup a little bit and talk about like the way that we were told to dress and like the way that women were shamed for the way that they dressed and things like that. So I'm a busty lady, and I have been a busty lady since 6th grade. And I remember my sophomore year, I literally like wore 3 sports bras, trying to smash everything down so that I wasn't tempting the guys around me. And that came from being told multiple times that wearing what I was wearing was tempting guys. I was wearing t-shirts. Like, I've always grown up in the church, so like modest is hottest was like ingrained in my brain. So I was not wearing, I was also like super self-conscious of my body and stuff like that. So it was like sweatshirts, t-shirts, like baggy clothes. Like I was not okay with myself. And even then I was like, I would wear like a t-shirt that had like a open top, you know, like it wasn't like up to the collar. It was, you know, just a little bit open. And since I got the girls, there's like this much cleavage.
Yeah.
And I would get yelled at all the time.
Publicly.
Yeah.
Publicly.
Yeah. I'd have a leader, I'd be, you know, standing on the risers while we're practicing, and I've had a leader be like, back up, pull your shirt up. Like, yeah. Maybe if they didn't say it right out loud, they like look at you and be like, and you're just like, first of all, thank you for that public embarrassment. Like, yeah. And now you're the temptress. Like, I hate that word now. I've used it way too much.
It's okay.
But like, you're the person who's trying to make everyone stray. So frustrating. And then we weren't allowed, I don't know if this is a thing now, but like, we weren't allowed to wear 2-piece bathing suits at camp because that is basically saying like, boys come stray with me.
I think that it was, you know, and it's said in even like pamphlets, it's like, hey, bring your bathing suit, be modest, which is so obvious. Like,
well,
what?
It was actually in the like ours, like the camp rules, it said 1 piece only.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it did say 1 piece only.
I mean, I was only allowed to wear 1 piece anyway.
I was too afraid of my body to wear anything else.
So I also feel like in our prelude video where we're just like, hey, we're doing this, we talk about like, be better or stop.
Yeah.
So a way that I believe that TFCs could be better in this way is that if you picked one day a week where, and you knew this on like the first day, so you had like a minute to prepare, what's your biggest insecurity and how can we make you feel better about it? That way, if it is someone's face or their makeup or whatever, and you're encouraged to not wear makeup that day, then yeah, compliment them. Like, you're beautiful without makeup. But to someone who's like, insecurity is something else, that's what it needs to be. Women feel insecure without wearing makeup or without this or without that. It's okay to highlight an insecurity, but how do they need to be loved through it?
So with that, I say yes, but don't do it the way that you guys do it.
No.
The way that you guys handle insecurities is you shame the person for having that insecurity, and then you try and force them to not have it by shoving their feelings about it down. That's not how to help someone with an insecurity. Talking about it, finding a root cause, finding a way that they can like talk through it. Like, when my therapist was helping me like get over a lot of this purity culture stuff, I had to like stand in a mirror and talk about the things that I liked about myself, and it started with internal things, and eventually I was able to talk about the external things that I liked.
Yeah.
But the way that it was handled in TFCs when it was an insecurity, because they would say this day is all about that. It's all about facing that insecurity. No, this day is all about shame. This day is all about shoving those emotions down. You're not facing an insecurity. You're covering it up. You're putting this pretty bow on top of it and saying, look at how we challenged these people to like confront this insecurity, and now so many of them have committed to not wearing makeup. So many of them feel confident in themselves. No, they're just afraid that if they do, they're going to be seen as less.
Well, like I was saying earlier, I think it's really weird to step back and think about the fact that like we don't want to be tempting guys to have unpure thoughts. So, and then we were stripped of what we think makes us feel beautiful, to feel what actually makes us feel beautiful, which is a fresh face. And then we have a whole bunch of guys compliment us. So, what? And then being told, like having guys be told to give us compliments on our fresh face, but we're again not supposed to have any impure thoughts about them. That is a purity culture round and round. Because then if you continue to not wear makeup because the boy told you that you look better without makeup, then you're still not doing it for yourself. You're now doing it to get the attention of the boy, but you're not supposed to get the attention of the boy, but the leader sent the boy to you.
Yeah. The emotional manipulation cycle.
So maybe, just maybe, you let 16-year-olds wear makeup because that's what they want to do.
And you have a real conversation about it, not a forced experiment.
Like, let's just think about that for 1 second. That on that day, the worst thing you can do is wear makeup. Now, there are kids out here doing the most reckless crap ever, but I got shamed for wearing mascara. I didn't do anything else, but I was to the point of like public embarrassment.
Yeah.
Because I wore some eyeliner.
Yeah.
What? So, okay, so moving on from this day. I don't want to move on from the day. I have so much more to say, but it's fine. Purity culture in of itself, you know, if we're not going to talk about abstinence and we're not going to talk about that because that's a whole other whatever. I think day in and day out, you're taught that you need to do the things today to be the best spouse tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that goes so far beyond whether or not you sleep with someone before you're married. You're not really supposed to show anyone any type of affection. And before parents are like, that's great, I didn't send my kid there so they could cuddle with blah, 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 blah. Your kid's gonna cuddle anyway. You might, I mean, like.
Well, and it's, okay, even then, like, I think telling parents that, like, your kid's gonna do it anyways, they're like, well, if I put them in environments where it's not encouraged, then I'm at least limiting that source. So let's not go down that road, but let's go down the road instead of, they're also not being taught how to have a healthy relationship.
No.
They're not
Well, what I mean is, we're talking about it anyway. Like, we're having all these
Yeah.
conversations about sex anyway. We're having conversations
it's
about...
not the teenagers. It's the adults having the conversations
Yes.
with the teenagers about it.
Like I said, we're gonna get the sex talk. You're not gonna know when it is. We're not gonna know when it is.
Yep.
So that means there's a random day dedicated to sex that I'm just walking into as a 15-year-old, where here I am, having pure thoughts, living for Jesus, doing my thing, all a second sex talk I didn't ask for. And then I'm like, and then they're like, but stop thinking about it after this. Like, I know
but then we're gonna have another sermon about like purity and sex, but don't think about it. And then 2 weeks later, we're gonna have another sermon about purity and sex, but don't think about it.
And how you are probably gonna fail, or how everyone messes up sometimes, but you should try really hard to do X, Y, Z. And no one ever talks about the grace if you do end up messing up. They tell you not to do it, but they don't give you a whole lot of tools except like wear turtlenecks and sweatpants. That's the best way to like not have sex before you're married, or not make out before you're married, or not like each other before you're married. They don't ever tell you what it looks like to actually like somebody in a healthy way. Have a good conversation. What you're looking for in a spouse.
Yeah.
This whole purity culture sex talk is what not to do. That's it.
Yeah. Which also, like, in public school, that's what we're taught in sex ed. We're taught, just don't do it. Not, if you're going to, this is the healthy way. And the problem is that when you just teach abstinence culture, those mentalities, those things don't go away once you actually get married and like are doing things in the biblical way. Like once you get married and you're having sex because like that's, you know, your husband and wife and like that's okay. The mentalities, the like negative connotations that you've put on sex, the like really damaging beliefs that you have built around it, the shame, the guilt, none of that goes away just because you got married.
Right.
Like all of that exists. All of that sits there. I've talked to so many people that have talked about this, that like they got married and it took them multiple years to stop feeling guilt and shame for having an intimate relationship with their marriage partner.
Right.
And they did wait till they were married. They did, you know, do all of the good Christian things. And I think that's like, if you go the abstinence route, awesome. That's your own choice. That's your own belief system. But it doesn't mean that this guilt and shame culture doesn't permeate into that.
Well, you're also never taught how to find a spouse outside of whether or not their religion is the same as yours.
Yeah.
I heard a quote one time and I thought it was so great, and now I'm just like, LOL. And it was like, the best way to find a spouse is to chase fiercely after God and see who's next to you. Here's the thing. When you live in the world outside of religion,
yeah,
the things you look for in a partner are not highlighted when you're in religion and taught to look for a partner. The things you look for in a partner within religion are how they feel on God and how they feel on religion, and if you're going to raise your kids religious, and if they're religious, and how long they've been religious, and what certain things mean to them, because there's so many denominations, and just making sure you line up.
Mm-hmm.
Never, not one time, was I ever taught about finding someone who was kind.
Yeah.
Or genuine. Or had a job. Or paid his car insurance.
Or was emotionally mature.
Or any of that. If he considered himself a Christian and lived out the Christian faith to the best of his abilities, which does not always equal kind and genuine, or we wouldn't be making these videos.
Right.
That's what you're taught to look for. But that's all you're taught to look for. And that's how a lot of people have ended up in horrible relationships.
Yeah.
Because that guy goes to church. He's not gonna XYZ until he does.
Yeah.
And then what do? You can put yourself in such harmful situations if that's your only criteria in a significant other.
Well, that's what that person quoted. When you don't own your body, when you don't have a say in your own body, you don't know how to look for red flags. You don't know how
not at all.
You don't know what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like, because you are taught that if they are chasing God, they're a good partner.
Well, yeah, because God is going to bring you somebody for you. So you put that all in God's hands, and then Mr. Handsome Christian Sir enters your life, and you're like, I guess this is the guy that God sent for me, because I don't have any other criteria to be looking for. So Mr. Handsome Christian guy comes in and he's like, yeah, I'm a fan of God. Let's date for however long. And then he sucks as a person.
Yeah. And I mean, it also...
But God brought him to you, so it doesn't matter that he sucks, because you don't belong to you.
Well, and like, I think, you know, we can say this because we experienced it. We've seen it as adults growing. Like, how many relationships have we watched come out of TFCs and get married very young? And I'm not dissing any of these relationships or saying that they're not healthy or anything like that. This is just an observation. How many of these relationships have we seen that started in TFCs, that got married super young, like some before they were even 20? And there is a heavy feeling in the air that they got married so that they could have sex, so that they could be living up to the Christian values. I'm looking at you for your thoughts.
We were all thinking it. I'm just saying to everyone. You already know. I don't know why you're... Stop. But, yeah. No, that's actually the thing you say before congratulations is,
yeah. Like, okay. You got married in your teens? Pretty sure we know why. Because you're not allowed to sin and for a lot, like, and I'm speaking for myself in some ways, like there was a pressure that I felt to like, if like be in like a marriage, because I knew, I was like, ooh, I don't have the self-control.
Before anyone watching this gets upset, or you think we're talking about you or your whatever, I want you to know that because all of the conversations are so sex obsessed, that makes everyone else sex obsessed. So it's actually not our fault that we thought that about you. That's purity culture.
Boom. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yep.
Like everything is so sexualized.
Blew their mind too. It's fine.
No, it just makes me think. I always thought that I was such a bad person for like struggling with like just being a sexual person.
Yeah.
Because I was so shamed for it. I was like shamed that like this was something that was like a big thought process in myself. And
I think that the thing that is so fucking the thing that is gonna get me the most is that when we're not supposed to be thinking about sex, we get taught about sex.
yeah.
But when we're thinking about sex, they're like, don't do that. So again, with like this weird backwards mind thing, especially with marriages, is that I think that a lot of people are gonna say like, no, we got married because we love each other.
Which I'm not saying you didn't.
Great. That's great. But there's, like I said, there's a reason that everyone thinks you got married so you can have sex. There's a reason that everyone thinks that, because that's what we're taught to think about.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like, if it wasn't about sex, would you have gotten married that young? Like if you took out of the Bible and said that you don't have to wait till you're married, you just have to be in love. Like let's just go down that thought process for a second. You just have to be in love. And so all this pressure to get married was off the table. Would you have married that person that young? Would you have committed to a life with that person that young? Or would you have allowed your relationship to grow longer and made sure this is a person that you genuinely at, your teenage years could be with for the rest of your life?
So I think that goes along with the fact that we're not taught to look for anything other than religion in someone else, because I don't think the majority of people can say, yeah, I would get married, because you haven't had time to grow financially. Right. You haven't had time to grow emotionally.
But see, that's what I'm saying, is like, if you took sex off the table and you made it like that's not the thing that matters, all of a sudden you have this space to be like, are we financially stable? Are we ready to commit our lives? Are we ready to start a family? Are we ready to like put our assets together? Are we ready for, like, does your career line up with my career? You're in your teens, you don't even know what your career is.
Well, not only are we ready, you also have to think about where the world is at. Economically, can we do this?
Right.
Or, the world is going to hell in a handbasket right now. Is this the best time to buy a house? Is this the best time to have a kid? Is this the best time to whatever? No.
Yeah. Like, all the conversations we would have with our partners before we got married don't apply because we're not a part of abstinence culture.
Right.
But when you put abstinence culture in, now that becomes like the biggest conversation.
Yeah. Because
the guilt and shame that if you mess up, you have now like tainted your relationship.
Right.
And it's...
I also heard this quote once that was super smart, and now I hate it. Which was, if you can live with somebody that you're meant to be with and not have sex with them, they're not the person that you're meant to be with. Which there's some truth to this. If you can live with the love of your life and not like physically act on that, are they the person you're supposed to marry? Because that person you're supposed to marry, you're supposed to have a hunger for that person like no other.
Yeah.
So there is truth to this. The point is, though, how do I say this without sounding like an asshole? I don't want to encourage anyone to do something they're not ready for before they're married. But I will say that with people getting married so they can have sex, getting married, how do I say this? I'm gonna have to come back to this. Again, we don't discuss before we film. Yeah. Say some stuff. I need to figure out how I want to word this.
I know that now that we're kind of talking about the sex aspect of this all, I know when I was in TFCs, like, I was struggling with my own stuff going on outside of TFCs that had to do with creating, like, hypersexuality in myself. And so I felt so much shame, so much guilt all the time. I didn't know how to deal with these feelings because no one was trying to help me work through them. And I was so shamed that I did not bring them forward because I did not want to get the disappointment look and the, like, I didn't want to lose favor, because that's what had happened. I watched it happen to other people. They admitted that they had, you know, done something sexual with someone, and all of a sudden they weren't a favorite anymore. And I was so afraid of not being a favorite that I was just like, I'm going to pretend that I've never even seen a boy. And so because I was, like, shoving all of these emotions down, as I became an adult, like, I had no idea how to have any kind of healthy relationship, let alone a healthy relationship that had any kind of sexual aspect. And in my first relationship, like, I ended up making the decision to have, like, a sexually active relationship with this person, and I would cry every time. And this poor guy, like, I would be like, no, we can't do that anymore. We have to, like, commit to God, and, like, I need to, like, this can't be a part of our relationship. And he'd be like, I totally understand. Like, I respect your faith. You know, like, we will do whatever you are comfortable with. And then I would be like, yeah, I want you. And so then we would sleep together again. And then I would just be like, oh my gosh, like, I am so disappointed in myself. Like, I am a disgusting person. Like, we can't do this anymore. And, like, this poor guy is, like, having...
You're living out the quote I just used.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is, like, this poor person...
I knew I was going somewhere.
Yeah, this poor person is trying to be so kind and caring to me. And here I am in our relationship where he doesn't believe the same things that I do. And I'm basically telling him that sharing an intimate moment with him and expressing love with him was disgusting, and we should feel guilty for it. And if this person ever sees this, I'm so sorry. Like, that whole beginning part of our relationship, I'm so sorry. And you were a kind person in that moment, because...
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
If I was, like, now, if I was on the opposite side of that and the person I was with was doing that, do you know how rejected and, like, I'd question my worth? I would question, like, our relationship. I would wonder, like, why I'm not like, what I'm doing that's, like, so bad.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm doing is expressing love to you. Like, why am I bad for that? And then, like, why do you keep wanting to express love that way and then take it all back? Like, everything that we experienced in that moment.
That's a mind game, for sure.
Yeah, like, everything we experienced in that moment now is so tainted. And, like, I've had to learn in my adult life how to be healthy with that. How to stop blaming myself for things. How to not have shame and guilt culture attached to things.
Well, the biggest thing, and again, I know we've talked a lot about, like, adultiness now. This originated in TFCs.
Yeah.
The biggest relationship that purity culture damages is the relationship you have with yourself.
Oh, yeah. You put your own worth on, like, can I be modest enough, pure enough, not act sexually, not think sexually, not be tempted by people, and it also goes into, like, LGBT stuff as well. Not be tempted by the same sex, not be tempted by my own thoughts inside myself. Like,
I failed.
Same. So you guys just watched us have a revelation.
I do think that it's important to wrap this up soon.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. It's been a doozy, and
this is a big topic, and
it's a journey.
it's a topic that's like, you start with just like your thoughts and the way that you present yourself as a person, and then it goes to like relationships and sex and all that kind of stuff, and like that's
yeah. I think as we end this video, because we have to, I don't want to leave things on a trauma dump situation. What are some positive things that you try to live out in your life now to counteract things that happen to you within purity culture?
Well, I have learned to...
Or what would you tell someone who's like,
That's
that
easier. That's
I
easier.
feel all that, right?
That expressing yourself with your body, however that is, like clothing, makeup, all that kind of stuff, is a way of like expressing your feelings. So I really struggle with feeling my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so a way that I have learned as an adult to feel my feelings is to express them. And I really struggle with words sometimes. And so being able to like dress or like put on makeup, or like in a relationship, if I'm trying to express emotions, like being able to have the freedom to express that however I need to, and just stop internally shaming myself. So the way that I've done that is just like, I mean, I walked away from the church. So I stopped having this like mentality that I was breaking things with God, because that's just not my belief system anymore. And I'm not saying that that's not important for someone who it is. It's just my own thing. But even when I was in the church, I started to like get like a healthier perspective. And it was very much like, if the way that I'm expressing myself is healthy between myself and myself, and myself and my partner, myself and my family, I don't think that it's unhealthy in my relationship with God.
No, I think I'm a big believer in if it's not hurting myself or others, and it's healthy, and I can explain why those things are accurate, and it feels good, do it.
And if you're experiencing shame or guilt from it, that's the thing that you need to like look at. If you're experiencing guilt and shame, why? Are you experiencing guilt and shame because you're disappointing a leader? Are you feeling guilt and shame because you think that God is disappointed in you? Well, if this is your belief system, like look into that.
Yeah, and you need to be very cautious of which voices you're listening to, and where they originate from, and if those voices have your best interest at heart.
Yeah, because 100% the voices I was hearing were leaders.
The voices that I heard had an agenda.
Yeah.
And they had a belief system, and I don't believe that in every situation that their belief and their agenda and the reason they did things that they did came from God, as much as it was their personal opinion.
Yeah.
So if you are having to check yourself because you feel guilt or remorse or hesitation, I urge you to make sure you're listening to the correct voice.
Right.
Make it your own voice. Or God's voice. However it is that you believe, or whatever it is that you do.
But like challenge yourself for it not to be the God that your pastor told you, not to be the God that like the leadership of this group told you, not to be the God that somebody else presented to you. Who is the God that you follow? Who is the God that you read about in your Bible? Because that's the actual thing. Don't, like, how many times have we said humans are flawed, humans have their own agenda? So don't listen to humans.
Don't listen to them.
Yeah, find who God is for yourself. And if inside of that voice it's God plus another person, or it's God interpreted through another person, what is the harm in checking that for yourself?
Also, God asked you not to do that. That's in the Bible. If you start worshiping something other than Him, that's an idol. So
Right.
Make sure that the people's voices that you're listening to aren't doubling as your idols.
Yep.
If they are doubling as your idols, know that they like it, and therefore that your best interest is not what they want.
Yep.
What they want is their agenda.
So with that, So we're gonna wrap it up.
It's only been 45 minutes.
You said we would take 45 minutes. We have created a Google Doc. A friend of ours is amazing, and they created this Google Doc, and it goes to the email that is associated with this channel. It has a space for you to tell your story, and it is submitted to us anonymously. So
We'll have no idea who you are.
And we wanted to give this space because we have had people message us, but we just had this feeling that there's people who want to share, but they don't want their name or their face associated with it. And while
understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone that we collect stories from, everything is presented anonymously, but I understand like still not wanting us to know who you are. So here's an option, here's an opportunity. Like here's a way to share your story. And if you don't want it talked about on the channel, please in your story explicitly say that.
Yes.
Otherwise, everything that's submitted, we will just assume we can talk about. So yeah, I will attach the Google Doc with this, but thank you guys so much for sticking around.
Yeah, we really appreciated it, and thank you to all of the people who have messaged us, thanking us for doing this, and just being nothing but positive to us, because as much as we are happy to do this, it doesn't mean it's not hard at times.
I mean, you're watching as we're doing this, like we are experiencing our own revelations, our own emotions. Like this is something that while we have done our own therapies and done our own like unpacking of this, there's always something to unpack. There's always like a thing we didn't know we were feeling.
Right. So as much as we are super cool with being a voice, there are moments, and there are times, and there are things that try to bring us down or break us down, and as much as we're fighting that doesn't make it fun. So all of the encouragement and positivity that we've gotten from people, like, thank you, genuinely, thank you so much. I can't tell you how appreciative I am to wake up every morning for the last 8 days to someone being like, you're awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
And it just reinforces that, like, I am awesome. And you need that sometimes.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
But we've got more videos, so just stay tuned. Thanks, guys.
Bye.